This is a tutorial on how to do or how to create a business letter from notes at Australian Hardware. So we've been given these notes. And we've been asked to create a letter for this. So the following letter was written by the workplace manager, Kate Irvine, and is to be sent to Jeremy Ainsfield. Dear Jeremy, thank you for your interest in the position on the development team of Australian Hardware, Mount Gravatt, blah 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 blah. All right, those are our notes. We need to take that. We need to turn it into a letter. All right, I'm not going to read through it all. A lot of these details here aren't actually particularly important to us because we're just typing this letter up. The thing that is important is ensuring that we format our letter correctly, matching the style guide, and also so that it looks professional. So there's a few things that you're going to need to have open when you do a task like this. You're going to need your Australian Hardware letterhead template. Okay, so this is the portrait letterhead template. You can get that from the intranet. Another thing that you're going to need is the style guide. Okay, the Australian Hardware style guide for publications, presentations, and correspondence. This is found on the intranet as well. This is going to be your bread and butter for this type of task. You need to be using this extensively. And also, too, what I have open is the Australian Hardware staff list, because we will need some of these details. And the last thing that I'm going to need open, or that I'm going to be using, is Google. Okay, you will need to have Google open. We will be using Google as part of this task. You will see why. Okay, you will see why in a moment. Okay, but you do need to use or have access to Google. Okay. Alright, we'll minimize that for now, and we'll look purely, and we'll start off looking at the style guide. When writing a business letter, the first and most easiest thing to do is to look specifically at the sections in the style guide that relate to business letters, okay, or to letters. So in section 13 there is a section on page 10 called letters. Alright, so that is somewhere that we'll also go. And to a big hint, in the appendices, there is an example letter. Now that tends to be what I choose to use, but we'll have a quick check of letters, the letters section, and see if there's anything that we need to take note of. So letters are to be typed on the letterhead template, we've just said that, and use full block style with open punctuation. Okay, with open punctuation, this means no use of extra full stops and things like that, and we'll see that used in the example in a moment. It tells us about our margins, so set to 2.5. Our footer containing the file name should be included, so we need to make sure that we do that. Text for letters should be set to either 10 or 12 Arial, depending on the length of the letter. So that's important as well to ensure our font. Subject lines should be typed in bold font. So subject lines typed in bold font. Vertical alignment of the letter should be set at top. However, spacing from the letterhead can be varied to ensure the letter is not set too high on the page. Where possible, letters should be kept one page in length. Letters that extend over more than one page include a footer on the first page showing the following notation. So if we go over one page, this letter won't go over one page, but that's just something to note. Second page should contain a header showing the name of the addressee, left aligned page number, and the date of the letter. Where the sender of the letter is also the typist, reference initials are not required. Refer to Appendix C for sample, and envelopes. We're not doing envelopes today. Alright, so these couple of things here, I'm going to we'll do these now. We'll do these now just to ensure we're all good to go. So left and right margins to be set at 2.5 centimeters. So I'm going to go to my letterhead, design, page layout, margins, custom margins, left and right. They're basically 2.5. We can just edit those. Minor change. Next, we're going to go ahead and go back to our style guide. Back to the style guide. We can tick that off. We've done that. I'll unhighlight that. Footer containing the file name should be included. Simple. We go down to the footer. we edit the footer, and we need to insert the file name. Now to do this, we go to Quick Parts, Field, and we put in the file name from the fields listed there. Okay, I'm just going to click that. Now, issue here is that this is formatted Calibri 11. Okay, Calibri 11. The font family group for, and it's taken out and it says it throughout this style guide, is Arial. So at that point we know that just because it comes up as Calibri 11, we can't leave it as that because it doesn't match the rest of the document or anything else that the style guide says. So I'm going to go and find out how, or use other parts of the style guide to find out what size that should be. Okay, easiest way to do this is to use Control F, and I'm going to look for the word footer, okay, in the document and see if that comes up. Alright, so here we've got a couple of instances, and then we can go through and try and find in the document where it might reference to the size and style we should use. So the first one there, footers are to be included. No, it doesn't say that there. Here we go, and this is in the section 2.1 called Fonts. Footers should be Arial size 8 italics. Okay, so in that section there under Font, it gives us and tells us what our footer, what the size of the text in footers should be. So I'll minimize that. Arial. Where's Arial? Arial size 8 and italics. Okay. I'm also going to remove, there's some extra paragraph markings or extra paragraph spacing. I'm also going to remove that, keeping it 0 before and after and single, because that's what has happened in the rest of the document. Okay. Obviously that is not the correct name for our file because I'm yet to update this. I'm yet to save and update this. Okay. But it's in there now, and we can update it at the end. Alright. So that we can see that there now appears in the footer. And if we go back to, just close that, and we go back down to our section on letters, we've done that. I can unhighlight that because that's done. And 10 or 12 Arial. So let's go back to our letter and ensure Arial 10. This is quite a short letter, so I'm going to make it 12, just so that it takes up a lot more of the page. And you'll see in a moment why we do that, or we'll see by the end of why we would do that. Alright, so first things first, or after that, once we've done those simple edits as per the style guide, okay, don't get me wrong, a lot of this stuff here, okay, if you were in an instance where you were, for example, the letter was more than one page, we would then go and have to make those edits. Not everything from the style guide applies to every situation. Appendix C now. Okay, scrolling down to Appendix C, we're going to look at our sample. Alright, so sample letter. This is full block open punctuation. Okay, the full block style, this is the style showing the blocks of paragraphs, and also to then the open punctuation. You'll notice that there's no punctuation used throughout any of these items except in the body. So there's no comma after the salutation, there's no comma or full stops here, there's no comma or punctuation used in the inside address, etc., etc. That is open punctuation. Alright, so the first thing we need to put in there is our reference initials. The very first thing is our reference initials. So this is who is typing, who wrote the letter, and then who typed it. So the person who wrote the letter is Kate Irvine. The following letter was written by Kate Irvine. So K-I in capital letters, 2 spaces, B-L. Okay. Don't worry if it comes up with those squiggly lines and things like that. Actually, it should only be 1 space. My apologies, it should only be 1 space. I thought that looked like 2. That shows that Kate, and I'm going to turn on my paragraph markings, that shows that Kate typed the letter, wrote the letter, and I'm currently typing it. Okay, it should be at the top of the page. Alright, next thing. It says 3 returns. That's pressing the enter 3 times. So 1 time to go down, and then we're leaving 2 spaces. We need to put in the current date. Okay, So we need to leave 2 or press enter 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And then we start to type in the date. Notice that pressing enter 3 times, it leaves 2 rows of space, 2 lines of space. Now, what is not appropriate is doing this. Okay? That is not an appropriate way to write the date in a professional letter. You write that on your notepad when you're taking notes in class. Okay, you write like that when you're, very quickly writing something down. When it comes to a professional letter, a letter that you might be sending out to a client, a colleague, a customer, okay, we always write the date in full. Common error, common mistake made, where to look at your level of professionalism. 5/5/16 is not professional. Write it out in full. You also do not have to write 5th of, okay? We leave that out. Okay, that's part of the English language, it's part of English writing, we just leave that out. Okay. And it then says hit enter 3 times and we write in the inside address. 1, 2, 3, and we begin our inside address. So I'll turn on the paragraph markers just so you can see 2 spaces, and we're going to start on this line here. So the address details. Who is this going to? We need to start off with their name, and we need to put all of these details in. Alright, all of these details in. So we'll start here. So first off, their name. So Jeremy Ainsfield. I'm just going to copy and paste. Just use copy and paste. Okay, so when you get these notes, when you get notes like these, you can just copy and paste them. Copy and paste directly in, Control V. Notice if you're pasting from an outside document, okay, might get this little paste up. You want to try and paste keep text only. If you do keep text only, it'll keep the formatting. So notice it's Arial 12, okay, and this came over pasted as Arial 12. All right. I'm going to put in a Mr. in front. Okay, again, level of professionalism, Mr. Jeremy Ainsfield. Okay, keep it professional. The next line, according to the style guide, we need to put in his job title and then where he works. So let's check our notes. Do we have his job title? This is to be sent to Jeremy Ainsfield, 21 Woodstock Road, Wellington Point. Use current date. Copies to go to other members of the interview panel. Thank you for your interest in the position. All members of the panel are impressed. I'm reading through to see if we can find out where he works and if he already has a job title. So all members of the panel are impressed with your previous experience in research and development with other organisations. Undertake training. We would therefore like to take the next step in the interview process and arrange a time to discuss the position. Okay, so nowhere else in the letter, nowhere else in the notes do we get his job, a job title and a company that he works for. Okay. Nowhere else in the document. So just because it's not listed at the top here doesn't mean that it may not be mentioned somewhere else. So if it's mentioned somewhere else, you then obviously need to include it. However, it's not included, so we don't need to put that information in. We don't need to include this here. We just leave that out. We then start with the street address and where it's going to. Alright, I'm just going to copy and paste that directly in. So Control V. Okay, making sure that I've just pasted in that. Woodstock Road. Oh, do we have an 21? Oops, 21. I missed that. So just put that in there. 21. Woodstock Road, Wellington Point. Now again, we need because it's open punctuation. We need to get rid of that comma. All right. Now having a look at the example, or in the appendix. 25 Main Street, Wellington Point, Queensland 4160. We're lucky that the example matches what's in the what is in the this exercise. Notice Wellington Point is all in high caps and Queensland 4160. Now, we didn't get told where Wellington Point is. We don't know what state it is. We don't know what the postcode is. You then need to take the initiative as the typist to figure this out. This is why I said to have Google open. Okay, this is why I said to have Google open. If you open up Google, pull open Google, type in Wellington Point. Type in Wellington Point, we can find out that Wellington Point is in Queensland. Alright, and its postcode is 4160. Okay, just because it's not written down, you need to take the initiative. You need to take the initiative to go and find out that required information. There's no way that if you sent this letter and it just says Wellington Point, that it would definitely get to the spot. We can't assume that, okay, that it would get to the address. We have to then include Queensland 4160, okay, but we've got to go and figure that out. Also too, this bottom line is always in high capitals, is in capital letters, so I'm going to change that to all uppercase. Alright, leave the blue line. We always put 2 spaces, 1, 2 spaces, 1, 2. Okay, that's just to space it out. 1, 2. Okay, that's just our part of our formatting. Okay, so make sure that you take it upon yourself. You go and search and find where Wellington Point is, okay, or whatever the address is. Figure out that it's in Queensland and what the postcode is. All right, let's have a look here. What's next after? We've got to put in 3 returns, again leaving 2 spaces, and we put in an attention. So who is this going to? Okay, the attention line. So 3 times enter, 1, 2, 3. And the attention line, just checking, it's all in capitals, yep, so attention, and then we put the name. And it's, we can turn off caps lock, we can just copy and paste from here. Alright, just checking, I'm just checking and making sure, yep, that matches the attention line, and then 3 returns. 1, 2, 3. And our next item is our salutation. Dear Sir. Right, dear Sir. How does, now the what's given here might tell you, it says Dear Jeremy. Alright, so it definitely says Dear Jeremy. What I'm going to do here, easy, I'm going to copy and paste this just directly in. Okay, I'm just going to copy and paste this directly in. Nice and simple and easy. Control C, copy, and copy and paste this in here. Paste. I'm going to paste just the text only because it was a different font. I wanted to keep the font of the document. Alright. So, issue with that, issue with this here. It's all chunked up together. That's not easy to read and it doesn't look nice. It does not look nice at all. So we have to follow our template or follow our appendix, our example, and ensure that we have the right amount of spaces between each. Also too, we need to insert this subject line. So we just need to press it twice, put in a line there, 1 line there, and we'll spread this out. Let me just making sure yours sincerely. Yeah, we just leave 1 space at the bottom there. So we'll put in a subject line, and it's going to go in bold underneath Dear Sir. And we need to have a read then. Thank you for your interest in the position on the development team at Australian Hardware Mount Gravatt. I've received your resume and expression of interest and have shared this with the interview panel. All members of the panel were impressed. So we can put here, and this is where we've got to make a decision on what is this letter about. What is it about? Position on development team position at Australian Hardware, or maybe just development team. Control C. Again, I don't development team position at Australian Hardware. Okay. And then bold. Alright. Notice I haven't typed anything as of yet. I've only typed really a handful of things because you can copy and paste a lot of this information from the notes itself. This isn't a task. In some instances you will have to type, but this isn't a type of task that should require a whole host of you typing. It should be you just using the information that's been given to you. Okay. Alright. So ensuring we've got the right amount of spacing. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then 1, 2 there, just counting up, looking at the paragraph marks, ensuring we've got the right amount of spacing. Let's jump back to our example. So we've got our salutation, we've got our subject line, we've put the body of our text in, we've got our complementary close. In the example or in the notes, the writer wanted yours sincerely, so we're going to use that. Now we need to finish this letter. We need to finish this letter. Okay, so at the end here, we need to put in 4 to 6 returns. This gives them an opportunity, or this gives the writer the space to sign. Okay, to sign this letter when it's sent. So we'll put in some space there, and then we need to put in the writer's name and position. Okay, we need to put in the writer's name and position. So let's put in some space here. 4 to 6 returns. Again, there's already a space there, so this is where we've got to make sure we're not putting in extras. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. I said 4 to 6. I'm going to put in 5. Four actual lines of spacing. And this comes from, or this document, this letter has been written by Kate Irvine. So I'm just going to copy and paste her name. Control C. Again, I'm doing it easy. I don't want to have to type anything. And we need to include her position, writer's name and position. This is where the staff list comes in. So staff list very easily tells us who this person is. Control F, find, save me looking. There we go, Kate's at the bottom. She's the workplace manager, Queensland. And we just copy and paste that. Control C. Control V. Alright. I'd write Queensland in full. Okay, write in full. Just gives that, again, professional level. Okay, professional level. Back to our example. Enclosure note and courtesy copy notation, that courtesy copies have been sent. Enclosure note. Enclosure note is, or shows, when something is included in the or with the letter. So if there was an included USB or an included business card or an included brochure, we would need to show that something is enclosed here. This task says that there is nothing enclosed. It does not say, if we read through the letter, it does not say that anything has been enclosed. Okay. All members of the panel are impressed. Breadth of work. We would therefore like to take it to the next step. I will contact you later this week to schedule a time. Doesn't say anything about it being anything included. Okay, so we do not need to include an enclosure note. However, what it does say is copies are to go to the other members of the interview panel. Okay, the other members of the interview panel. So we need to put in a CC notation. Alright, how many spaces? We need to know how many spaces. Just 2 spaces at the bottom there. And we're just going to put in CC and make sure it doesn't go capitals. It's got to be lowercase. I'm just going to put in there interview panel. Alright, this is to inform particularly Jeremy that a copy of this has also gone to the interview panel so that they're aware, and it'll of course be sent to the interview panel themselves. Alright. Okay, so according to our example, and of course you can see in the example there it has the file name as well in the footer. Alright, so according to this, that looks pretty good. I've gone through this. I've tried to match my example, my sample letter as much as possible. Okay, as much as possible. The last thing that I like to do is look at the spacing and look at how the document or the letter sits. Okay, something we can do. Okay, something that we can do is ensure that if the letter was really short, so you can see here how it sort of sits on the page, sits alright. There is a bit of white space at the bottom. It's not too bad. Okay, it's not too bad. Something we could do if we wanted to I guess modify or change that is we could change our page layout and our vertical alignment and center it, and notice how now it's exactly the same. Okay. However, though, the issue with that is now that this inside address has moved, and it won't be useful if we were using an envelope with a clear plastic window. Okay, so that's okay. Okay, that's okay. If it was really high up the top, you might do something like increase the level of spacing after the inside address. So you might add like an extra space here, an extra space here. You might make some changes like that. Okay, just to space it out. but I think that looks too spaced out now for this document. Okay. All right. But that's just something to be mindful of when writing letters like this. We could also too justify this text here. Notice now how it takes up a lot more of the page, and it also gives a nice hard edge there. Okay, doesn't say to do that in the style guide, but it is an option. It's not too bad. I think I'm just going to leave it leave it just like that, because it doesn't. I don't think it needs it. I definitely don't think it needs it. And now we're just going to save. I'm just going to save it and update the file name to match. Now, in order to update this, something I'll need to get. In order to update this, we'll need to, to save this, not update. Sorry. In order to save this, we need to ensure that it matches the file naming protocol. Okay, we need to ensure that this document matches the file naming protocol. So if we go back up to the contents page in the style guide, you'll see that section 11 has the file naming protocol. Okay, so when naming any of your documents, you must match this file naming protocol. So basically, correspondence to be named as client name, document number, topic, and then initials of writer. This isn't a client. I mean, correspondence to be named, it's not a client, but we could use that one. We'll have a look at what else. Accounts, documents are to be named as followed. Client name, other publications to be named as publication type, topic. Because this is going to somebody, I think we'll use, and it is a piece of correspondence, we'll use this way of naming, where we put the name of the person who's getting this document or this letter, the document number if applicable. There is no applicable document number in this case. The topic, initials of the writer, and then .docx. Okay, initials of the writer. So, file, save as. Just going to save it to desktop. Just going to save to desktop. And client name. So the client name was Jeremy Ainsfield. So I'm going to put in J. Again, I just want to make this easy. I don't want to. Let's make it as easy as possible. I'm just going to copy and paste. And two, I want to make sure that's spelled correctly. The easiest way to do that is just to copy and paste. So, name, topic, initials of writer. Name, topic, initials of writer. J. Ainsfield, name, topic, interview letter, underscore, initials of writer. The initials of the writer are K.I. Okay, Kate Irvine wrote this. Okay, you were the typist. Kate Irvine wrote it. Okay, and that's how we'll save that. Just be wary, this opened as a .doc, which is a template, so just always ensuring that you save it as a .doc or a .docx. And then we hit save. Once we've done that, I need to update the file name and the footer. Right click, update field, and then just hit save again. And that's how you write a business letter at Australian Hardware. Alright.